Hey everybody, today we are talking about the Untamed versus the novel version, the Grandmasters of Demonic Cultivation. So if you've been watching my previous videos, you already know that I recently read Grandmasters of Demonic Cultivation and decided to watch the donghua version of it as well as the live action, which was called The Untamed. And I already reviewed the similarities between the book and the donghua, and now I'm here to talk about the live action of The Untamed. So The Untamed came out in 2019, and it has 50 episodes. They're all about 43 to 44-ish minutes long, and I finally finished all 50 of those episodes, and let me just say, I was a little worried at the beginning. I was told by a friend to watch the donghua first because it followed the story better, that it was just more accurate. And so I knew that going in, the Untamed might not be completely the same. But I was pleasantly surprised that it actually it does quite a good job. There are several scenes that they do very well that is like just page by page exactly the same. Just really something that you probably hope for when you're watching an adaptation, that they don't stray too far away from the story you fell in love with, but some changes are always going to happen, and sometimes that's welcome depending on how the changes are or what they decided to do. In this version of our story, there are of course still going to be that censorship issue, so we don't have any like intimate moments. But at the same time, we have intimate moments, but they are not in the way that you are used to seeing, like physical intimacy. But we do see moments between Wei Wuxian and Longzhan that are very you can tell through their eyes, through their body language, even though they are not being physical with each other, you can tell that they still care deeply about each other. And you just, you read between the lines and you know that there are off-screen things that probably happened that we just didn't get to witness. And so, yes, it's not as satisfying as reading the books for getting that relationship from like what you probably want to see, but you're just not going to see it. You're going to have to just keep it imagining it. But so of course that's different. Also, the beginning of the first like 10 episodes or so, they're a little slow, but we're getting a lot of, story development here. So that's kind of expected. There's a lot of talking, there's not a lot of action in a couple of the episodes. I thought maybe I was going to stop watching it for a minute because I just was thinking that they were not really going to stick to the story. That, like I said earlier, when my friend warned me about this, but I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to keep watching this then. But I am glad that I just shooed that thought away and kept watching, because then it gets really good and really accurate. And overall, it doesn't stray too much from the actual story. They just kind of make something up and add something to it. Instead of the Wen clan just wanting power and wanting to take over everyone just for the sake of being the most powerful and owning all the other clans, they make up this thing called the yin metal that is like a physical piece of metal, and it got split, and there's like 4 pieces. They believe that there's 4 pieces, and the Wen clan is trying to track every piece down because it'll make them the most powerful. They can like control ghost puppets, and they can do like whatever they want if they have this much power. And so there's like this backstory of like everyone in the Wen clan, and like the main clan leader getting his like family members to go do dirty work for him to try to find these pieces of metal. I guess maybe they just thought that there wasn't enough storytelling to happen if all they wanted was power for the sake of power, but like adding this physical object that they're all in search of, I guess, made it more easy to like create a storyline around. I don't know. So I guess it's not really the end of the world kind of a change. They added something rather than completely changing it, because it was still the same clan wanting power as the book, and everything else pretty much follows the same. The show basically goes like back in time when Wei Wuxian was alive and a teenager, and it stays there for about 32, 33-ish episodes, and before it returns back, so it's just basically stays in there, instead of like the book where you kind of go like back and forth a little bit more. It just stays in the past all the way up for more than half of the show, and then we're brought back 16 years later, where the show started and where the book started, with the whole like reincarnation kind of thing. So overall, I definitely think it was worth it. If you're thinking about whether you want to watch this and like what's important to you, if you've actually read the book but you haven't watched this, like I would say obviously the plot, like I said, some of the plot's a little different, but the majority of it does track to where I think if you get over the little addition that they like put in there, then it really is a good adaptation of it. Especially, there are certain scenes where you're wanting them to be pretty directly the same, and I think they did a really good job with that. There are a lot of scenes that you're just like, okay, this is supposed to happen, and then when it does, you're just very satisfied with that because you really wanted that part to be correct. And I think they did do that with a lot of important scenes. The way that they present the characters, the outfits are all very beautifully done. We have light blue and white colors for the Lan clan that are very nice. Of course, we have Wei Wuxian with his red and black, and it's just, it works really great. And then we've got Jiang Cheng with his purple, and it's just really nice. At the beginning, I felt like Jiang Cheng's character was like not mean and stuff like he was in the book, but then near the end of the series, he starts to get that meanness to him and that hardness. And so I think they did a really good job with his character to show like how he gets, how he becomes that way, and just this really strict uncle. And then of course we have the two main characters that, again, they did such a good job at being who they're supposed to be in this. And the other characters, they did a really good job. Our main villain of the show, whenever we see him on stage or on screen, it's hard to see him as a bad guy sometimes because he just looks so young and like innocent looking. And I guess that's kind of the point, because he wanted to deceive a lot of people. But then at the end, I was just like, how's he gonna pull off being like evil when he needs to be? But there were some like angles of the camera work and stuff and the way he was in the scenes that he actually did pull it off quite well. And you just really think, wow, this dude. But I don't think that he looked as fierce and like as intimidating as the way the donghua it made him look, or the drawings in the book made him look. So I wanted to talk about the music, of course. A couple of things that I liked. The music, again, really good, just like the donghua. In fact, I think one of the songs is the same in both. Like they used it for both. But the main theme is called Unrestrained, and it's a play on both of their names, Wang Shan, I think, because it's Wang Ji, Long Wang Ji, and then Wei Wuxian, so Wang Jian, I believe is the name that it is. And really cool thing about it is that the two actors for those people are the ones that actually sing the song. And so not only are they really good actors, they're also really good singers. And one of them, Lan Wangji, he actually has like a whole additional career of being like a singer slash rapper slash like performer. He's like really totally the opposite of what his character Lan Wangji is like stoic and still and hardly says anything. And then I watched this video of him doing like this rap and like this on the stage, and he was dancing and he's got all the moves, and it's just like totally the opposite effect of what you're like used to seeing. So I think that's really cool. He can do you know, he can do many different things, and he's good at a lot of the different things. So yeah, the opening song, very pretty. The theme song, the words are directly about their relationship, and they also have, like, for Wei Wuxian's sister, she has her own like theme song too that's really delicate and pretty and nice, and the words in it are also just like about her relationship with like Wei Wuxian, and it usually would play anytime that they were together in a scene, or when it was just, even just when we saw the sister on her own, a lot of times it would play in the background. And so I think it's really awesome that they decided to be like, well, let's have some of these characters have theme songs and we'll play them throughout, and it just brings you like, it tunes you in to the specific moment. Something that I will mention that is kind of a nitpicky thing is that since their instruments are like, can be used as weapons in this, there are moments where Wei Wuxian, of course, is going to get out his diza and he's going to start playing, and the music, when you look at his fingers, it like, the majority of the time it does not match what he's playing, like, at all. Like, it doesn't even look like close to being real. And so I'm not saying that the actor doesn't know how to play this instrument, because I feel like when we're watching Lan Wangji do the zither, I feel like his does look like it is, like, there are parts where it zooms up and he hits two strings and it's like blung blung and it like matches, but it's just like, whenever there is someone doing the flute, it seems like almost always their fingers, it'll be like doing like kind of like a trill, but his fingers will not be doing that. And as a flute player, it's just something that's like kind of easy to like notice, to be like, they just didn't bother with the editing team to like match it, and maybe he really was doing it properly, but they just didn't edit it the right way. Then they just didn't care about that aspect of it. Like, oh, or maybe it was on purpose, because when cultivators play in their instruments, it like produces more notes on a certain, like, you play a certain pattern and the sound comes out different based on what you, I don't know. I'm trying to justify this somehow to make sense, but maybe it's just that they just didn't put a lot of thought into like, oh, this needs to match perfectly, because yeah, it just like never, maybe not never, but pretty much did not match for the majority of the time that he was playing his instrument. So yeah, that just stuck out to me. Then one of the last things I wanted to say was that once you get past the first like 10 episodes, that's where it really starts to like pick up and get really really good, and there starts to be more action. There starts to be those like those main scenes that you're looking for, like, oh, when is, you know, when they do the cave, when they're in the cave and they fight the turtle like monster, and like that is really good. And then you want to see things like the fall of Wei Wuxian and how he starts to go down to the demonic path, and we see that really well. And yeah, there are a couple of things that were very different than the book that I was not super pleased with. One of them being, this is actually a part that they kind of just added that wasn't really in the book at all, and it's when they're discussing how they're going to find the yin metal pieces, and they end up falling down this like current, takes them underneath a hot springs, and there's like this just instrument in there, and it's like cold and like all kind of spooky looking. At one point, Wei Wuxian says something like, "Don't get separated from me," or something, or like, "Let's stay together." And Lan Wangji takes his headband off and like wraps it around Wei Wuxian's arm to like lead him to keep them together in this like little pool of water. And I'm just like, what? You're not supposed to do that. Like, what? the headband, the headpieces are so important and crucial to the Lan clan. They have a reason for it, and you only take it off, especially you only put it and let it be touched by other people for like very significant reasons. And at this time of the story, they're like, this is when they're like teenage years and stuff. He would never have done that. He would never have done that. Like, I just thought that was like, okay, why? Because yes, eventually Lan Wangji does do this to Wei Wuxian, but he does not do it so early on in their like friendship. It was like barely even a friendship at that time of the story. And so I was like, whoa, that wasn't cool. There is the whole golden core situation, if you've read the books and you know this. In the books, we do not know how exactly Wei Wuxian helped Jiang Cheng restore his golden core. We don't know exactly, like, we're told, okay, he's going to go up on the mountain and it's going to get restored, and I found a solution and all this stuff. But we don't know what that actual solution was until, like, the end of the book. Like, the last few chapters of the book is when we get this huge reveal, and everything's, all the dots get connected, and it's just this, like, big, like, whoa kind of moment. And that gets diminished. It's still a powerful moment when Jiang Cheng realizes the truth of these things, but it's not the same for us as viewers because we are in on it. Because in the show, Wei Wuxian says the plan, and we know about the plan, and we know how this whole golden core situation is going to end up. We've known it this whole time. So then when finally Jiang Cheng knows it, it's like, yes, he's finally realizing it, but we don't get that same moment as where we are in his shoes at the same time with him. And that part was so good in the book, to have that revelation with the character. I think that would have been better if they had done that in the book, in the movie, in the show. And they totally could have made it work, because I'm pretty sure the Donghua does that, where they don't reveal anything, like any of the main things, until later. So I don't know why they made that choice to have that part be revealed to the audience. I think it would have been so much more impactful, especially if you haven't read the book and like your first experience of it was with just watching this live action and then being like, oh, I need to go read the books now. Like, then you're going to come at it with a different lens, and you're going to be waiting for that reveal, and you'll be like, when are they going to tell? When are we going to know about this? And then you're not going to find out till way later. And I just think that's one benefit of reading the books first, because that was a better moment to learn the way they did it in the novels. So yeah, so those are some things that I thought could have been better, as well as things that I really liked. If you haven't watched this yet and you're wondering about if you're gonna like it or not, hopefully my review helped you to decide if it's worth watching it. If you've already read the books, again, I definitely would say if you've not done anything, then you should read the books first and then watch the show. If you have watched the books already, I think the show's worth a try. Just know that you might feel a little like unsure about it with the first 10 episodes, but then it really gets better. But also, I would not skip the first 10 and just start halfway. I think you should still watch those, because it still is helpful to have the full context of everything. And then there are some moments that really, really were just, made, some tears come up, because it's like, oh no, this part, and they really did a really good job with the acting, that you like feel what they're feeling. And there was definitely a few good shining moments like that too, that it's like, okay, yes, I'm really glad I got to experience watching this scene specifically. And there were at least 3 of those for me that really stood out as really good scenes like that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. That means I am done with Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. I have now watched these 2 versions, and I've read all the books. I think that this is probably where I'm going to say goodbye to this series, and it was really great. I'm glad that I was able to experience it in multiple ways and that I chose it. And now I'm really considering doing Heaven's Official Blessings as my next dive in, though that one is 8 books versus 5, and so it's more of a commitment. So I don't know when I will be able to get my hands on all those books and then actually give myself time to do all 8 in a row. So it might be a while before we see anything about that on my channel, but I am deeply considering it because I heard that that one also is really good. That's my thoughts on that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end of this video, because I know sometimes these ones get a little longer. So thank you for that, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.